height, pikeys. That's right.
A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Mr. Teach Film Preach. I'm very excited today, and today we are going to be talking about Snatch, a Guy Ritchie film, came out in 2000. Crime movie that takes place in London, England, and it's all over the jewel missing diamond that was stolen from a vault or a jewelry, what do you call those? Jewelry store and in Antwerp. Then this entire movie is based all around everyone trying to go after this jewel. So it involves like a bare knuckle boxer, some gypsies, a dog, a couple of gangsters, a crime gangster who feeds people to pigs, a Russian KGB sort of guy. So it's got all these different kind of characters and everyone who wants that diamond. So this movie is crazy. It's really funny. First of all, I have to say, I remember when I first saw this film, I didn't quite understand it because I was like 11 or 12. And also the British accents are so thick, and they have like slang and terms, and so at first, like as a kid, I missed the majority of what they said. I understood what was going on in the story, but what they said back and forth to each other, I don't really remember understanding a lot of what they were talking about. I was just too young at the time when I viewed it. And then when I got into high school, I watched it again and I went, wow, this is first of all, it's a hilarious movie. The characters are hysterical. You got Turkish, and who's played by Jason Statham, who, to me, this is the best thing Jason Statham has ever performed in. You know, he's a great action star. He actually does comedy very well. If you ever seen, like, Spy with Melissa McCarthy, he's great in that. And he is actually, like, a decent actor. But in this movie, he kind of pulls off, like, playing a character, having a little bit of, like, a tough guy, but he also has like a lot of humor in his role against his partner Tommy. And so like Turkish and Tommy together are hysterical. They open the film, so you could say like this is a Jason Statham movie, but it's really such a broad cast of great funny characters. So besides Tommy and Turkish, you got Mickey, who's played by Brad Pitt, and you can't understand a word he's saying. He would always do this kind of like, oh, what you doing about? They kind of made of like an English, Irish, like gypsy mix of them, so you can't understand anything they're saying. Watch this movie with subtitles, especially with the Mickey scenes. It'll make a lot more sense. Mickey, he's so funny, he's so likable, and he's such a skeezy, con man, but you can't help but almost like cheer for him. It's the situations that come about, like they have to go and, Tommy and Turkish have to go and, like, purchase a caravan from Mickey so that they can feed their bare-knuckle boxing business better. Of course, they get ripped off, and then it starts this whole thing of, like, betting to, like, get him involved in like, getting a free caravan, and then they want Mickey, they find out he's a good fighter because he fights their big bare-knuckle boxing guy that comes with them to buy the caravan. He gets knocked out by Mickey. Then they try and get Mickey to get into the bare-knuckle boxing match because it's a fixed match that's headed by Bricktop, and Bricktop is a nasty gangster, and he like feeds people to pigs like it's nothing. He's got dog fights in the middle of his compound. He's a nasty guy. He even has like a whole monologue about how to feed people to pigs and how to get rid of bodies and how pigs are the best way to do that. Like crazy stuff. Awesome dialogue, and I think that's one of the things I love about Guy Ritchie and his films is he's got such great characters. They always have these crazy situations that they get wrapped up in somehow. Whether it's they're like stealing a diamond, or if they're trying to steal a diamond off another person in the movie, or if they're trying to rob a bookie to make some money. They just get into themselves into wild things. But I also love Guy Ritchie's, his dialogue is so stylish, and in the sense where I usually prefer substance over style, but it's more focused on the style, and that's kind of like Guy Ritchie here is his style of filmmaking is very fast paced. It's very funny, quippy, and lots of like berating back and forth of each other or the characters, and I love that kind of humor, and I love that writing. Bricktop, who is telling their fighter, Turkish fighter, has to go down in the 4th round or else, sort of thing, and so and Mickey doesn't. He knocks the guy out right away with one punch. So yeah, so it gets him into a world of trouble. And so while there's like a bare knuckle boxing match, there's a thing about this jewel, about this diamond that Benicio del Toro and his guys stole at the beginning of the movie. It's just chaos. Bullet Tooth Tony, who's played by Vinnie Jones. His two best, for sure, are Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. He and Guy Ritchie have a really good repertoire. They work well together. They connect somehow as a writer, director, and as an actor. And they just put together great characters, you know, both in Lock, Stock, and for this film in Snatch. And I think Bullet Tooth Tony brings such a great comedic story, but also such a it really shows like the perils of in the, you know, the gangster world. The dog in it is also another character who is hilarious because, you know, it ends up eating the diamond, and they have like a whole thing where they're trying to chase the dog down, and Saul and all of the guys who are trying to rob the bookies in the movie, and in the car it's biting at them, they're biting at the leather, you know, don't scratch the leather. Says the getaway driver, and you know, and just like the whole antics with the dog is just great. And one of the things that I love in this movie is the boxing matches. Obviously, Guy Ritchie has a certain style. You watch one of his movies and you go, oh, this is a Guy Ritchie film. And one of them are these really intricate, fast cut to slow to like really fast sort of style of filmmaking. And we've seen it in other films like 300, and but he really uses it extremely well. Not a lot of movies use that fast and slow to their advantage to tell the story, but to also create a good style with the story. And Guy Ritchie handles that line very well. And the fight scene near the end of the movie where Brad Pitt is fighting and he's supposed to go down at a certain point, and he actually does get knocked to the canvas, and he does that sort of like head flip back thing when he gets uppercutted. And it's all in slow motion. Then he lands in water instead of on a canvas, and shows like he's drowning and trying to like stand back up. Really cool filmmaking. You know, just a different way of showing, you know, the man's struggle to you know, rise back up. And instead of just like him, you know, like in Rocky, he just sort of like gets back up, you know, but he does it in a really creative way. And I like that about Guy Ritchie. He takes a lot of risks. This isn't a new movie. Lots of films have done, you know, a crime caper around an object or money that everyone's trying to get. But the style and the way he goes about it is really great. It's a fresh perspective on the genre. And I think that's why I love Guy Ritchie's films, is that they often feel fresh and they feel different from what most other people would do with a crime movie like that. He has a really nice flow in his movies of being able to handle like style, action, great dialogue, have wonderful characters. I think out of all the Guy Ritchie films, so we're talking Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, Rock and Rolla, Revolver. I know I'm missing one with Madonna. I've never seen it. You know, the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. You know, he did King Arthur, the newest Aladdin, right? Out of all those films, and the most recent one, which I saw, and I'll do a review of later, is The Gentleman. I think Snatch is my favorite because he improved from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels because that was his first film and sort of like a very, very tiny budget, as was Snatch. I think Snatch was only made for $6 or $7 million. And it grossed like 84 or 85 million. That's amazing. But Lock, Stock was his sort of like first trial run. Snatch, he really perfected or really got really great at the action and made a lot more of a crisper, cleaner movie than Lock, Stock is a lot grittier and dirtier film. I think he takes a lot of things from influences kind of similar like Tarantino. I compare him a lot to like he's like a British Tarantino, but also very different. So that's not even a fair comparison. But what I mean by he's like Tarantino, he does his own thing. He does his own style. He doesn't give in to like the norms of Hollywood or like any just sort of like normal action or thriller or whatever kind of movie they're making. He usually likes to make bold choices, and I appreciate that in filmmakers. I don't like filmmakers that keep it safe. So with all that in mind, a couple of things that I have a problem with this movie, besides I already mentioned earlier, it's kind of hard to understand them. You really have to be like, oh, okay, like you have to be patient with this film to see some of the payoffs. That's one of the things that I don't like about it, but I also do like about it because it's a bold choice. You have to be patient with this film to get the payoff of the jokes. A lot of times it's 3 or 4 scenes later they call back something, or there's jokes at the beginning of the film that get called back at the end, and you're like, that's why they were talking about those things. So as long as you're patient with this movie, you're gonna have a great time. So I highly recommend this film, Snatch. It's fantastic. It wasn't quite good enough really for me to make that master list of the A+, but it was so close. So I give it an A. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Click like down below, subscribe, and let's get taught.